Hello there, my amazing friends on the internet. Let's address the elephant in the room. My subscribers. At the time of making this video, I have 121 people subscribed to me. A day ago, there were 81. Now that's a huge jump, and to be honest, I did not expect that to happen so early. So if you're new to this channel, which almost half of you are, then welcome to my channel. My name is Yash. I am an educoder, meaning I make educational coding videos every Monday and Friday. Right now, I'm covering full stack and creative coding, but I will soon be getting into teaching more complicated stuff like databases, algorithms, and all sorts of services that are out there for you to use. So if you're interested in learning all these things, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below if you have any questions or suggestions. I will make sure they get answered. Let's get on with today's video. We will be making a very simple and sleek looking landing page. We won't be using any JavaScript, but we will definitely be using CSS and some HTML. Before we get into coding, let's gather the resources we need. Firstly, we will be needing a good symmetrical picture. If you want some high quality pictures or videos, I would recommend going to Pexels. I've talked about this website on one of my videos, but in short, Pexels is a great place to find really beautiful and high quality pictures and videos for all sorts of things. You can resize the images and download all for a small price of $0. Many times, beginner web designers don't give much importance to images on their websites, but it makes all the difference to have a good picture here and there. The next resource we'll be needing is a funky and cool looking font. The best place to find fonts is Google Fonts. This is a collection of thousands of fonts that are web friendly and have a very modern appeal. I am using the handmade Apple font. If you search for it and click @import, you can copy the URL and use it in your website. Most websites use 2 to 3 different fonts. Some get used for titles and some get used for normal text. Never use too many fonts though. That's always a bad idea for anything. Time to get into coding. Start up your text editor and make an index.html file and an index.css file. Create the boilerplate code in your index.html file. In your body, we will need an app div. This is where we will put everything inside. Starting with the navbar. The navbar div will have a nav element inside, and in the nav element we will make a UL element and 4 list elements. This will be the main content of our page. The first list element will be our title. Let's give it a class of title and fill it with some text. The rest of the lists will be our options. Give them a class of OPT and fill them with stuff as well. I'm going with apps, services, and about. That looks great. Let's jump to the aesthetics part. We will have a div with a class of image. In here, we will have a title element, and let's also give it an ID of message. I'm also putting in some text to get it showing. Also, we need a slider div with the title inside. Put some text in here as well. We are done with HTML. Let's make a link tag in the head and point it to index.css. Before we start with the CSS though, put the image you chose into your project folder. We will be using it right now. Open up index.css. What we need to do first is to import the font we chose. Do that by typing @import URL and paste in the font over here. Coming to body. Let's set the default font to Arial and get rid of the margin. In the app, set the width to 100 VW and the height to 100 VH. We want everything inside to be aligned to the center of the page. We also want to set the flex direction to column. Now if you set the position to relative and overflow to hidden, it will allow us to set up everything in the page as we want. The image will take the whole screen, so set its width and height to 100%. Set its background to the image file, and set the background size to cover. Once you do this, the image will fit into the page. We don't want the image to repeat, so set its background repeat property to no repeat. Set the display to flex, justify content, and align items to center as well. That should be all for that. Let's come to the navbar. Set its margin top to 2 EM. Make the color white and set the font weight to bolder. Also, let's set its position to absolute and top to 0. Now it will blend in with the background. Oh yeah, give it a width of 100% as well. Let's set the UL's display to flex and make everything inside space evenly. Also, set the align items to center as well. The li will have a large as the default font size and bolder as the default font weight. Set the color to something that pops out as well. Let's also make the li stretch to occupy as much space as it can. Do that by setting the width and height to 100%. Set display to flex and center the content as well. We need to get rid of the little circles that pop up before the li text. To do that, set the list style type to none. Set the cursor to pointer and position to relative as well. Time to edit the options. Firstly, we want to change the color to something dark on hover. We will be using the before pseudo element to animate the line at the bottom. Write opt::before, set its position to absolute. To get it to show, we need to set its display to block and content to empty string. Let's move it to the bottom by setting the bottom to -100%. For now, we will give it a width of 10% so that it's visible. Let's give it a height of 5 pixels and background color of white. Since we are animating it, let's add a transition of 0.3 seconds ease in out. Every time we hover onto OPT, we want to select the before element and set its width to 100%. Let's try that out. And it's working the way we want. So let's move to the title. We want to set the font family to whatever font you chose from Google Fonts. Mine is Homemade Apple and cursive. Let's also give it a font size of 3 rem, set its color to white, and let's also give it some horizontal padding. Just with this, you have a working landing page. But we want to add more eye-catching features to it, so let's edit the slider now. Let's set its position to absolute and push it to the bottom of the page. If you set the transform to translate Y 100%, it will go off screen and will not bother us. It will also not be visible since we set the app's overflow to hidden. Set its width to 100% and height to 100 VH. I am choosing an arbitrary background color, you can select whatever you want. Center the stuff inside and let's add some animation to the slider now. Type animation, the animation name, I'm calling it slide, its duration, how many times it should happen, and ease in and out. Let's make the animation now. Type add keyframes slide. In here, we will define states at any time, meaning 0% is the beginning of the animation and 100% is the end of the animation. So at 0%, we want the color to be fully gone. We also want to set the transform to translate Y as 0. That way it will start at the top of the page. At 80%, set the translate Y to 0, and at 100% set the translate Y to 100%. That way it will stay on the screen for a little longer, and then take its exit. Now we want to animate the message text. We want to give it a typewriter effect. Start by setting white space to no wrap. This will keep the text on one line. Set overflow to hidden and also text align to center. Let's make the caret. All we need to do is give our message a border to the right. There will be 2 animations applied to message, one for the text and one for the caret. Set the animation property to typing, 3 seconds, 1, steps from 20 to end, comma, cursor, 1 second, and infinite. Let's create the typing animation. At 0 and 50%, set the width to 0%, and at 100%, set the width to 20%. That should make it look like it's been typed out. The cursor animation is pretty simple. Set from and to border right, 5 pixels, solid, and some color. And at 50%, get rid of the border right's color. I've made a small mistake by the way. I typed border radius instead of border right. Correct that if you did that as well. And that should be all. This project is fairly simple and demonstrates the use of CSS animations. We will explore animations even more in the future videos. Here is a teaser from the next video by the way. This is using only CSS and HTML. See if you can rush in and make it before the video comes out. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.